All right, this is Mudita Hart,
This is Pure PhD
and we're here to review Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, which just came out as of recording this yesterday
on Disney Plus.
on Disney Plus, and we watched it day of, although we watched it at 10 p.m. and it
We'll
was
get into
2 hours.
We'll get into why it was short, but we'll get into why there's issues with that.
But it was late at night, and it's a stressful movie. But we'll get into that.
It's
But yeah, a lot of hype going into this movie.
I guess for a non-spoiler review, we could say if it was good or if it was bad.
Yeah, we're gonna give a non-spoiler review.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to get into the hype of this movie and what is going on. This is a movie that's in Phase 4 of the MCU, of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's a sequel to Doctor Strange. It's also a follow-up to WandaVision, and
Is it a follow-up to WandaVision?
kinda, in a way, after watching it. And it also grossed 944 million, making it the highest grossing film in 2022. It was in theaters.
Probably post-pandemic is probably the gross the most.
Yeah, and it was in theaters, and it's also I don't know, it had a lot of stuff in the trailers for it that felt like, oh, there's all these intriguing little details that feel like, oh, what's gonna happen, and there's so much speculation.
Because it's multiverse.
It's multiverse.
There's evil Doctor Strange, just Wanda.
Yeah, and there's also people were speculating, oh, are they gonna integrate all these other universes and stuff into the
Because
MCU?
it's a multiverse. Yeah.
So there's oh, there's this character, there's these characters, there's gonna be this universe. They're gonna bring this all together into this one MCU thing now, and that's gonna have all these implications and stuff, and we'll see how that pans out. But the base premise of this, just to get into that, is that it's Doctor Strange encounters a teenager, America Chavez, traveling through the multiverse, who has the ability to send travel between multiverses, and is being pursued by various supernatural threats, and Strange has to protect her. So yeah, that's the base premise of the movie. Any initial thoughts on that? I'm already seeing reactions from Pure PhD. I think we have a lot of impressions that we've established from our discussion of it before, and our reactions during the movie. Initial impressions to start off the conversation, I guess.
I think it should have been more. It shouldn't have been PG-13. It should have been an R at least, I feel.
So yeah, it was a PG-13 movie. Most Marvel movies are rated PG or something. This was PG-13.
And they don't give you a warning when you start the video on Disney Plus, unlike other old videos or whatever.
Yeah, also
old cartoons.
Also, as a base premise, the director is Sam Raimi. And this is not Spider-Man Sam Raimi, which is what I was kind of thinking it was going to be like.
Oh, really?
But this became more Evil Dead Sam Raimi, a lot in a big way, in many different ways. There's a lot of different elements that felt like it was getting into horror elements and supernatural things and stuff. So yeah, which is kind of I feel what maybe Marvel wanted, but maybe not what I felt like I wanted when I watched this.
I don't know if Marvel wanted it either.
I think.
I guess we're not doing a non-spoiler review then.
That's not. I don't think that's a super big spoiler. I don't know. This is vague enough. I don't know. I've seen non-spoiler reviews that can speak in those terms. So, yeah.
I felt the Marvel humor was really bad, and I hate the Marvel humor. I felt when it was really very terrible Sam Raimi jokes, that's when I started laughing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're talking about the humor of the movie.
Yeah.
The movie, I felt did have humor, but I felt there was a really dark tone to the movie. because of like the stuff happening. I don't know. I guess we should just say who the villain is. Uh, yeah, the villain ends up being
Wait, should we
fairly quickly.
So is this a non-spoiler or a spoiler?
This is not. I mean, it's the base premise of the movie. Yeah. I don't know. The villain of the movie, and okay, I'll just say the villain of the movie is like one of the Marvel characters that ends up turning much darker, and it like I feel like changes the tone of the movie in a big way, and like goes much darker than a lot of previous Marvel movies. I feel like even like on the verge of like being like a Thanos level kind of like darkness kind of character in this movie. Which is kind of like I feel like what they were going for. They want to go big with this movie to follow up with other things, but I don't.
There's a lot.
I don't like that.
There's a lot of like, oh, we have to make heroes R-rated. And I'm like,
yeah.
No, you have to make the story good. You don't have to make. I don't care if it's G-rated or if it's like NC-17. It just has to be a good story.
It felt
which
like
this really wasn't.
It felt like the tone was all over the place. Like they had like kind of like slapstick humor at times, but then at other times they had like really dark, like graphic violence and stuff that like for like beloved characters even and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, we'll get into that. Yeah, that's a big point. That we should get into that later. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like dying to say spoilers at some point, but yeah, we should get into the spoilers later. But yeah, I mean, yeah,
beloved actors too,
and beloved actors, yeah, and also the visual. I mean, as a baseline, like we can't like really criticize this. Like the visual effects were top of the line. It was like better than Shang-Chi we were mentioning during watching it.
Yeah,
like
way better than anything. Yeah,
yeah, it was like some of the best visual effects, and also
just because
like,
everything's gotten cheaper, I guess.
Yeah, so like there's a lot of like CGI that was really good.
There's CGI everywhere.
There's CGI for like
it's not like Avengers 2012 where like let's just have it all in New York City and not put any special effects in it at all.
Yeah, it's not like
that's what you have in the Doctor Strange movie now. It's all special effects.
Yeah, it's not just like a limited number of sets. It's like a lot of different sets, a lot of different animations,
a lot of different locations,
a lot of different universes. So they have different animation styles and universes.
And some of the sets look like they use the same location multiple times, and they obviously have to redo it multiple times.
Yeah, and then like when they're jumping through the multiverses and stuff like that, you see like all these different animation styles and architecture styles and different character design styles and stuff like that, and that's like a really interesting kind of like visual feast there. And also there's all these different characters and also a lot of camera tricks too that I feel like are like even like film 101 kind of things that like are pretty effective in this movie at like depicting like this kind of like kind of twisted world of like who to trust and stuff like that. So yeah, but I don't know, like maybe one of our biggest criticisms in terms of like this whole multiverse premise was that like they played very fast with these like rules of this multiverse stuff. And
I wasn't a fan of like a lot of the stuff like doesn't make any sense to me. Logics of the films like with like Thor and like Avengers 1 and like was the other one I was thinking of? Avengers Endgame for the time travel, but like this one is like they give me the lesson for. I feel
I might watch it again to like try and like see like how the multiverse rule stuff feels, but like on this initial viewing, like it felt like they would like introduce a concept, barely explain it, then like move on to the next concept in the multiverse.
It's a short film. It's not like 2 hours.
Right, it's short, and then they introduce it, and then they like also introduce plot points and characters, and then like throw them away and move on to the next thing, and then it's like okay, I guess and then like it kind of like stunts the drama of things a little bit.
Yeah.
Because like it builds something up, it's like even built up in the trailer sometimes, and then like they just like totally like that doesn't matter anymore, and they do that like it feels like every like 20 minutes.
I didn't feel like it was like the Star Wars sequels when like they do that kind of subversion at all. I felt like it was.
You mean like Last Jedi specifically?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Yeah, it didn't feel like it was like, oh, this is like a really like dramatic thing with Last Jedi.
And I don't feel there's like a social or like philosophical message behind any of this.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like they're just introducing things because it's like sounds cool or something like that. Yeah, this is like some mystical Doctor Strange hoo-ha stuff or whatever. Which itself like had like its own kind of weird origins and like 60s
they have a lot of characters in this movie. Some of these actors they use multiple times. And like Doctor Strange himself is like based off like sort of like Orientalism stuff.
Yeah.
And in this movie they have a whole bunch of like Asian monks in it.
Right.
And that feels a little weird to me.
Right. Yeah. Right. They like they're jumping from like places like, okay, they're going to like Kamertage, and then they're going through the multiverses, and then there's like, then they introduce the concept of like there being a like the most like all the MCU taking place in like the main universe of like 616, and then like they go to this other universe or whatever, and then there's some other stuff that happens, a lot of Wikipedia-ing.
I felt like
I felt like I was reading a Wikipedia article.
Like I was in college reading like all about like we're from Marvel 616. Are you from Marvel? Like I don't even know if they explain how they designate these numbers.
Yeah, they just throw it out there. I feel like it felt.
Oh, it's 616.
It felt like
838.
It feels like a lot of like oh, this is for the fans who are like gonna follow all this stuff and like really chew on this and take it apart and like like really read it on Wikipedia and stuff like that. Which is like I have fun doing that, but like I feel like when I'm doing it during the course of a movie, sometimes it can really like slow things down.
Like it doesn't make sense in the context of the movie. Like what do these numbers mean? Like why isn't it like 1, 2, ABC?
Yeah, I feel like sometimes like usually in a movie format, like they would like background that sort of thing and let you read about it later on in the Wikipedia article if you so chose to. But like in the movie itself, they would like just focus on the story, like how
I feel like in both cases this movie fails.
Yeah. So the movie kind of like indulges itself a little too much in this kind of stuff, maybe.
Yeah.
That's how it felt.
I don't know. Some of the indulgence, which we'll get into in the spoiler review, which everyone, with all the YouTube
there's a lot to spoil in this movie.
Like the indulgence, some of the indulgence is good. And I was like, oh, that's some good indulgence. But like some of the indulgence is pretty terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. It does feel like a big... It does feel like it's like a big kind of like multiverse level kind of like spanning kind of like movie. Like, but they had to introduce a lot of things all at once at the same time in this movie.
I also feel like...
But also like they also have to like reach a conclusion very quickly in the movie also.
That's sort of like when you're reading like a comic book or graphic novel and like they have like an event going on like the comic books and then like it ends and then sometimes like there's only so many pages for you to tell the story and it's all visual. Right. But like it doesn't like word wise doesn't really make that much sense.
But it felt like they were trying to do like a 3-hour movie like
2 hours
scale thing that like would have been like built up to with like multiple things. But like they did this in 2 hours instead.
And that probably made the box office go up because it was a shorter movie. And like, wow, this is an Eternal. This is only 2 hours. I'll watch this multiple times. Right. It has all this 3D and IMAX and all that stuff.
Right. And I also feel like even having remembered like watching the original Doctor Strange and WandaVision, I feel like this movie feels like a huge jump away from those movies even. Like, the thing that they set up at the end of the original Doctor Strange, I feel like just go in a really different direction. And the things they set up at the end of WandaVision, they go in a pretty big jump. Like, I don't know, that was my personal feeling. I feel like tonally, like, it was a big jump. But, yeah.
They have, like, stuff like that doesn't make sense in the movies also because, like, it's different directors and writers and stuff like with Loki and the Frost Giants and Thor and,
Yeah, maybe
That
like
comes off the top of my head, yeah.
maybe part of it is the fact that like it felt like Sam Raimi was given carte blanche to like just do what he wanted to
Which
like
we'll definitely get into in the spoiler review.
just like make things much more darker and like just have like
Yeah, I could tell he was a fan of certain Amazon Prime cartoon or superhero shows.
right. Maybe this was part of them like trying to compete with that kind of thing. Yeah, which is like maybe not the best, but I don't know. That was I think our personal preference between me and you, we didn't like that kind of stuff happening. I think other people might have been like, "Oh, this is fine." But like for me, like when I see a Marvel thing, I don't want to see like this kind of stuff happen.
So
Also like just really suddenly and abruptly and kind of like almost out of nowhere. Cuz like I felt like even leading up to certain events, like there's like a certain tone of like the violence or whatever. But like after a certain point, it's like, whoa, where is this coming from? Nothing in the MCU felt like this I've seen. Not even when it came to like Thanos, even. Like this felt like it was
some of that.
a little bit, but
Well,
like,
like
I felt like
neck-breaking and
I felt
stuff,
like
yeah.
this was even worse.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things.
Yeah.
Like we discussed Rescue Rangers and how that was basically a better version of Multiverse of Madness. And another thing was violence-wise, I'm trying to remember. But the main thing that came off the top of my head was how Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers was a better Multiverse of Madness than Multiverse of Madness was.
Right. And then like this movie's also coming at the time where there's a lot of other movies doing multiverse things, like Everything Everywhere All at Once,
Ready Player One,
Ready Player One, Space Jam,
Eternals, even
even
all like people are like, oh, that's the. I don't know if this for a fact, but I think people are thinking that's the boring Marvel movie, but like they did like whatever.
Yeah, I liked Eternals a lot. We both liked Eternals a lot in our review.
Yeah.
I think one thing I didn't say that was like maybe a little flat in our Eternals review was that like the dialogue could be a little stilted at times because like they were like
It's like a soap opera Watchmen thing or whatever.
They're trying to like pack in a lot of dialogue and stuff, and like I
felt like it was better than this movie. I felt it was better than this movie. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like the acting was very good in this movie. But yeah, sometimes the stuff to work with was very hard to like, kind of like maybe deliver at times. But
there's not really many arcs in this movie, and like the arcs really aren't thought out too well.
Yeah, but anyway, multiverse, in terms of multiverse movies, this movie got a lot of comparisons to Everything Everywhere All at Once, because both were out in theaters at the same time.
I really want to watch everything now, yeah.
Yeah, and apparently that I felt like a lot of people I knew said that was like a really good movie.
Yeah.
And like was the better multiverse movie. And like I feel like that's setting. I feel like this movie, like I could see why people.
Well, like after watching this movie, it sort of set the bar very low for that movie.
I also went in. Also, I will say I went into this movie with very high expectations because I was like, "Wow, this could set up like these characters. This could set up these things. I watched these things from before, like WandaVision and Doctor Strange 1. Those things were really good. I feel like this wasn't as good as like I liked WandaVision better than this.
Yeah.
I liked Doctor Strange better than this.
Right.
Even like I feel like a lot of things that they were setting up in the trailer, I feel like they didn't pay off as much. I feel like they just like, oh, we're gonna go here and do this stuff. But like once they went there, I felt like it wasn't as like I felt like it didn't pay off. I felt like they just kind of moved on from. I'm like, what? We just introduced this whole thing.
The whole beginning of the movie is like they just introduced the whole thing and then just kept going.
Yeah.
Without like any real explanation.
Yeah, and I also feel like the conclusion of like
how I was getting this is the morning too.
Yeah, I feel like with how it gets resolved, I don't know. I feel like it was like. Why does it happen this way?
To be fair, anyway. At the end of Endgame, should I spoil the end of Endgame?
Well, how can you say it without spoilers or whatever?
Like there's like certain characters that are killed off at the end of it, and I didn't feel that was a great idea either. I guess they do that in this movie with a lesser known character.
Interesting.
Yeah, one of them's not killed off, but like probably. Career-wise or story-wise, killed off, even though the character's still alive.
From Endgame?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of which character.
One is obviously dead, another one isn't dead, but like they're not going to bring back probably. And it's a pretty major character.
Trying to think of who. Are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, like the characters.
Okay, they're both killed off then.
I
Okay.
feel like they died at Endgame were dead, right? Like,
Yeah, like that. I didn't feel like what's the point of the whole movie if like they're just gonna kill people off anyway.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
Like we don't even know how long Tom Holland's gonna stay in the MCU, so they kept him
okay.
alive
yeah.
after Infinity War, and then like I don't
Also-
know what's gonna happen with
Yeah.
him anyway.
Yeah. I
We're
also
gonna
really,
force- you know,
yeah.
we're gonna play Spider-Man at all the times.
I really
J.
also,
Jonah Jameson will be the same. Yeah.
I really also do wonder how they're just gonna move forward with the MCU at this point because they've like lost most of their major players in terms of characters and
Yeah,
stuff.
that AEW has their problem. WWE has their problem now too. Yeah.
So like they're like, yeah, like the multiverse of WWE or whatever. So
We
like,
can get a little bit into that
all the major
with the
draws.
spoilers too. Albeit there's a problem with that too, as I mentioned.
Yeah, all the major draws to the MCU from before that, like when you think of Marvel, you know,
Yeah.
these are iconic characters. They're like not around as much in
Yeah.
like the ways you would typically be able to see them now. You'd have to like figure out some kind of like MacGuffin or something.
Yeah.
Or like some kind of like plot point in order to explain their reappearance or something at this point.
Yeah.
But I guess this movie kind of opens up some of that, which is
It doesn't really help the MCU multiverse at all. Like,
yeah.
which was your expectation, which was my expectation, my expectation was low. I was like, it'd be nice or cute if they did something like that, but like, it didn't really look like they did that.
Yeah. Yeah, and like it also just like me seeing like how this movie does for me tonally and like execution wise, it just makes me put into question like, okay, what are they gonna do moving forward with these movies?
Like maybe like a new Wolverine or a new Blade or a new Deadpool that's R-rated or whatever.
Right. I guess you're talking about R-rated movies, but like
Superhero movies, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm also meaning stuff like, okay, they set up like characters at the end of Eternals. They set up like there's gonna be another Ant-Man movie that's supposed to be multiverse related.
Yeah.
There's also gonna be like more appearances by like.
Oh, it's gonna be What If the movie also, right? Or is it just the cartoon?
I don't know if there's gonna be a movie for What If.
Okay.
But like, there's gonna. I mean, like I liked What If a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like that handled multiverse stuff better. I also liked Loki a lot. I know you don't want to watch that, but I like Loki a lot. You should probably watch it for the sake of a review. I feel like it's pretty integral to like how they're handling a lot of multiverse stuff and also how they're handling the next phase of who the major villains are going to be and stuff. So like it's kind of like yeah, so yeah, but yeah, I know you don't like the character or whatever, but although I think they do try to address some of those problems with the character in the show. But that being said, like I like the execution on multiverse stuff in Loki better than how they handled it in this. And maybe part of that is because they have a whole season to like extrapolate on a lot of those things.
Right.
Whereas with this, they spent like, it's not even a 2.5 hour movie or a 3 hour movie. It's a 2 hour movie.
Yeah.
Even.
Oh, it's like even less with the credits, yeah.
Yeah, and even with the credits, yeah, exactly. I also feel like there was like maybe even less room for like what I would typically associate with like show-stopping like Doctor Strange moments and stuff in this movie. Like usually like
One of them in particular, after we remember it was Sam Raimi, was pretty bad.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I think I know. Is it like this one? Like
It was like do.
I don't know. Okay.
We'll get into it later.
We'll get into it later, but yeah, like I feel like I associate Doctor Strange the character with like, okay, we're gonna get some of like, you know, the mirror dimension as in Doctor Strange 1, or we're gonna get some of the stuff as we did in Spider-Man or something like that. But like with this movie, they were so dealing with so many other multiverse elements that like they didn't even get a chance to like deal with a lot of that kind of like visual effects, like show-stopping number stuff. So
they didn't travel to as many universes as they thought they were going to.
yeah, that was a whole other thing too.
Yeah.
I felt like that was,
and when they did travel to a couple more in the end, I felt like this movie's a little too long. It was like 2 hours.
Yeah, it was hard to balance a lot of things, I guess.
Yeah, and a lot of stuff they already took out in the movie or didn't put in it.
Yeah, But yeah, all right. I think we discussed. I don't know. I guess we're starting to reach the point. I'm starting to feel that we're starting to reach the point where we can start talking about spoilers soon enough.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Is there anything we should still cover in the non-spoiler section?
What would you rate it without giving spoilers?
What would I rate it, like, out of 10?
Or thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever you want to do.
I don't know.
Or you can say, like, the visuals I rated this, but, like, or this aspect I would rated this.
Yeah, I feel like usually with, like, Eternals, it's a clear thumbs up or whatever.
Yeah.
And then with other things, it's a clear thumbs down. This is, like, a weak thumbs up. I give it, like, overall a 6 out of 10.
I can see what you mean by that, yeah.
It's, like, doing enough things where it's like, okay, this is, like, an impressive movie.
Yeah.
But, like, I feel like there's a lot of flaws in it. Or, like,
Right.
just a lot of things that make it hard to appreciate. And, like...
Yeah.
feel like less cohesive.
Yeah.
Like visuals wise, you know, like maybe 10 out of 10 even.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I might even say that.
Yeah.
9 out of 10.
Yeah.
But like story wise, plot wise, character wise, tonally, all that kind of stuff, it felt like it was like maybe a 4. Tonally is maybe a 4. Characters I feel like maybe 6. Story, 5. I don't know. Actually, I don't know. I might walk back on a lot of stuff like that, but overall, it's like a 6 out of 10.
Okay, overall, 6 out of 10 sounds good. Visuals, I would give a 10.
Yeah.
A lot of the critical stuff, like plot and character,
I would
and
say
even technical babble, I would probably give a negative 2 out of 10.
I like the acting in it. I like the acting.
There's good performances, yeah.
Performances with the people
there's
delivered their
there's like good stuff by Elizabeth Olsen.
Yeah.
Who had nothing really good to do because like the plot was so bad, but like, you know.
Yeah, I feel like there's like the big middle part of the movie which forms the bulk of the action.
Yeah.
Like felt like it was like very like kind of like it was like a vehicle for the visuals.
Yeah.
But was I don't know, like but I don't know, I'll just finish this point and then we'll move on. But yeah, I felt like the middle portion of the movie was a vehicle for the visuals, but like story wise I felt like it was like off tonally, like from what I want from an MCU thing. And also I felt like it wasn't in character for like a lot of the stuff that I would expect from these previous movies. And also was kind of like maybe Sam Raimi indulging in himself. But then I feel like towards the end, like the performances and the conclusion and stuff were like really kind of sold. Like, okay, this is kind of what the heart of the story is about. And I feel like that kind of redeemed it a little bit and kind of like made it go up a few points or whatever.
There was a couple moments in where I'm like a comic book nerd and sometimes an actor nerd. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool in the movie. Which I would give like an 11 out of 10.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I feel. It's a mixed kind of movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's got like a lot of really cool stuff.
Yeah.
It's also got a lot of really bad stuff that I don't like.
Stuff, yeah.
Like, there's a lot of really like, okay, this...
Oh, I remember what you mean about one of those deaths now in this movie. And you also criticize it for being really dumb. Which we'll get into in the spoilers review.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And I also feel like sometimes, yeah, they just introduce characters and, I don't know, anyway, we'll get into the spoilers section.
Yeah.
Alright, so yeah, overall, I feel like it's still worth watching for, like, if you need to watch Marvel stuff. If you're not into Marvel stuff...
I mean,
if you're not into Marvel stuff at all, you're mainly invested for the visuals and the action and stuff. And, like, that's probably worth watching for. But, like, if you're, like... into Marvel and you're into a certain kind of Marvel stuff, then maybe it's even detracts from it a little bit. But still there's enough plot points that like you need to like kind of watch it for like future things or whatever. Because I think it actually is going to be like kind of part of like the...
Well,
I don't know, that's how they always string you along, right? Is they always say, oh, this is going to be part of the next arc or whatever.
Well, they got rid of some characters, which I guess they can't really ignore. I don't know how the contracts are or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, well, it's a multiverse. So,
yeah, the multiverse. Oh,
that's the thing is like there's always like now. I mean, I don't know. That's kind of like something you can always say is like, yeah. Also, yeah. There's this universe, and then there's this whole constellation of other parallel universes.
There's a certain
where all
quote by
these other
Doctor
things
Strange
happen.
that comes to mind in this movie about the whole. Well, they killed off this character, but like the multiverse person.
I guess we didn't really explain what a multiverse was, but like, yeah.
I don't know. I guess it's.
I don't know.
I go. It's like 2022. I think a lot of people know what a multiverse is.
Yeah, but like, yeah, baseline is that we have our universe, which has all its kind of existing rules of physics and people and memories and stuff.
Yeah.
And then there's other parallel universes out there in like this other, due to like quantum mechanics or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they have different rules and laws and like stuff like that. And different versions of the same characters in comic books and stuff. And
Which is the really campy, nonsensical version of doing it, but like it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's like a fun thing. And then like inevitably in comic book things, that's like, you have the Flash meets the Flash or whatever, Crisis on Two Earths or whatever. And like then you have like Crisis on Infinite Earths, and you have like this big crossover event because there's too many different universes and people are like whatever, and then there's a big clash or whatever, and then they have to like do a big thing and stuff like that. And then, but also in this movie thing, it can also potentially integrate different franchises and stuff. But they keep baiting us with like, Quicksilver or whatever and stuff like that, and then like doing nothing with it, and like, so, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so anyway,
So
that's my little rant on multiverse stuff there.
in conclusion, from me and how I rate it, my brain, I want to give it a -1 out of 10. I would accept it a 6 out of 10 too because of all the good stuff.
Yeah.
And if you just like have Disney Plus and skip around, or you're in the theater and you skip around and go take bathroom breaks or whatever, that'd be 11 out of 10 for all the good parts that you really like.
Yeah, if you could just watch all the good parts. Yeah. I would not recommend this for children.
Oh, that's very important actually.
I would say that. Like,
Yeah.
this is not a good Marvel movie for kids.
It's
Even though it does have kids in it. Like,
one of the main characters.
even though
Protagonist is a kid.
even though that's the plot point of the movie,
Yeah.
like it drives the whole movie. It's, somehow, no, like yeah, this movie is not for children. It's not like a Spider-Man movie that you could take your kids to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to
Spider-Man
kind
itself
of.
had a little bit of a violent thing too,
I
but it
feel
wasn't
like-
anywhere near as bad as this.
I feel like we weren't in the right mindset for this movie. We were
I was
like,
like-
we don't want to watch this movie.
I sort of don't like
You had
the
to-
movie
you
anyway
had to-
because of the story anyway. And then, like, I
You
was
had
like, what the fuck?
You had to leave. You had to leave during the movie. You're like,
I
you
left
left for 5 minutes.
I left in the beginning and I was like, wow, that fight was really short.
I think you missed a lot of like pretty bad stuff, and that was just the beginning of a lot of bad stuff happening in the movie. It got worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, what the F? Like, what's going on? So,
I liked when Elizabeth Olsen's the whole horror thing. That was pretty good. But sometimes when she does the dialogue, it's not her fault because the dialogue isn't that you can't do much with it. Like it feels very stilted and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it's good for the good things, but bad for the bad things. So
Yeah.
it's a mixed kind of review, but
Yeah.
overall, it's like kind of averages a little better than
Yeah.
average or whatever.
Yeah.
In my eyes.
Yeah.
But yeah, and don't take your kids to it.
Don't take your kids to it.
Definitely not.
Yeah, we were talking about it. We wanted a G-rated version of this movie.
Yeah, like if there was a TV version of it that they like clean up for like network TV or something.
Yeah.
They're going for like the streaming, we want to like compete with like other streaming platforms that have more mature content. We got
Don't understand. People want R-rated superheroes movies. That's what people want. They don't want
we
good
want
ones. They want
Watchmen.
R-rated.
We want, Invincible or whatever and stuff like that. But yeah. Anyway. All right. So, yeah, that's about that.
Yeah.
We'll wrap up here.
Yeah.
And come back after the break for a spoiler review.
Definitely.
All right.
PurePhD out on Twitch. Yeah.
And this is Mudita Heart. I'll catch you later.
Later.
All right. This is Mudita Heart.
This is PurePhD.
And we're here to review Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.